is the synagogue.
Supreme Court. I think a Singapore flyer.
Marina Bay Sands.
I have no idea what the name is, but it looks like Gotham City.
I quite like the Gothic building. Forgot the name.
Which one?
Somewhere in Bugis.
In the Bugis area. That looks like a from Batman movie.
Yes, yeah, that one, yes, yeah. That.
The people?
We are a passionate city.
People around here are very friendly.
The food.
And of course the food.
Very safe.
It's really safe.
The peace and security of the nation.
It's like a very easy and accessible city.
Clean, efficient, easy to get around.
Architecture is very different from Africa, so I'm really amazed by everything.
Yeah, I think Singapore's architecture is very human.
The good balance between the green and the concrete jungle.
Relatable to the Singapore identity.
Extremely vibrant and energetic.
Well, Singapore architecture has come a long way. I think it has found its voice in the last 10 years.
A very interesting mix of architecture, all the way from old to new, with very different ethnic groups represented.
I do, and I'm trying to put solar panels on it. It's the Supreme Court of Singapore. Do you know the disc roof that I'm talking about? It's one of the most unique and iconic buildings here over next to Parliament House.
I like the new one at Bishan, the Sky Habitat. Okay. The architecture is very nice. I like the architect.
The National Library, designed by Ken Young. I think the climatic approach that is adopted by Ken Young is something that is very adaptable in the tropical climate, especially in Singapore.
The Gardens by the Bay is very unique. I actually saw a documentary about it and how it's built and how it's made. It's quite amazing, impressive.
I think Pearl Bank is definitely one of them. I think it speaks of the whole idea of the 70s.
I think for me it's the Helix Bridge because it's the science part that appeals to me. Yeah.
Honestly speaking, I'm not such a building lover. I mean, in terms of architecture and things. But yeah, if something which is really outstanding, I would say I like the Marina Bay Sands. Yeah, it's really it really stands out.
Favorite building of mine is actually the house that I grew up in. Yeah. Of course, it can be possibly the favorite building of everyone, but certainly that was the place where I first understood what space was. I first understood how I can associate with the building. Yeah.
Let me think.
Make a change.
Wait, email.
MRT station. Maybe you can change it like to a little bit more old school kind. You can have like different station, like some old school, some new, with different themes.
Converting bus stops to other social spaces, or turning things like part of MRT stations. So while you're waiting, there's opportunities for you to engage in social activity.
I think one of the things that we can do with the flyers is that it can be one huge green filter where instead of not just have this ability to carry people to see the skyline, I think it would be quite a sexy idea that it also function as a huge filter that can actually take in all the particles that's in the atmosphere.
I actually can't think of any such building. As in, when I go around Singapore, because I live here, I don't really pay attention to much of its flaws. I don't think I would like to change
anything that's existing. Because I think it's good to actually keep as much as possible what we have.
Maybe urban spaces in general, because I feel that a lot can be done to, in a way, revitalize these urban spaces.
I think that places, especially where the CBD area, could do with more trees and could be more connected. Yeah.
I think all the buildings in Singapore all very nice. No need change.
I mean, in those days, and I think everything was in a way softer, you know, less paved. So you're much closer to nature in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, I like very much a lot of the older buildings. You know, buildings 60s, 70s, even in the 80s. I mean, sometimes you find these hidden gems.
I think what I like is the shop house districts in Singapore. I think we haven't retained enough of them.
And it's just, I love how robust I think the older buildings were.
I think probably all the temples and the mosques and the Chinese temples as well. We should probably preserve that, you know, no matter what it takes.
Places in Chinatown, Little India, especially those heritage area. I think those areas we should be keeping that now.
They also should keep all those shop houses because important to know our own old tradition and stuff.
These places are important for the identity of Singapore, for the soul of Singaporeans.
And in fact, that for me is a big symptom of Singapore in itself, our history, our culture.
It's got a good diversity and the government has conserved important buildings.
Continue with high-rise buildings. Because this is Singapore's unique architecture.
I feel right now is that this void deck, this ambiguous open space is disappearing because maybe because we're over-engineering or over-designing it. I can't judge whether that is a good way forward, but I do like to see more of such ambiguous, inclusive and welcoming public spaces in the future.
We have to incorporate nature into it as much as possible so that the city itself is able to not to be so hard.
Well, I think now the talk is about vertical greenery. There's a lot of talk about it. I mean, it's not a new concept, but I think certainly now it's being implemented more than ever.
One of the key things related to that is to not forget that architecture is designed for people.
What I'm drawing is just an intimate street scene. It's not a grand vision of the whole cityscape. It's an intimate street scene where we can see a revival of the 5-foot way, but in a kind of different scale to adapt to the bigger city now, kind of 2 stories or 3 stories high, where there are no boundary walls, no fences, and people can walk under shelter along the street.
So I've drawn a guy on a bike. This is actually what I envision Singapore to be. I hope that Singapore will be a bit more bike-friendly in terms of infrastructure, and I hope that, you know, maybe cycling could be our way of life.
This is my vision of marrying nature within the urban environment, right? So the vision that I have is that within these stunning glass structures, all around is urban greenery.
I think about, you know, how we are continuing to densify our buildings in Singapore. So I hope the densification goes in a way where it continues to be more sustainable and it goes back to being more socially responsible. So we do not end up living in towers and we do not end up living in all these enclosures, but we still continue to have a lot of communal space.
So my drawing is very simple, but basically I really like musicals and theatre and dancing and arts and stuff like that. So this is supposed to be a row of Broadway, so they have a lot of theatre companies, and a dance studio next to it, and I really like cafe food, so yeah, there's a cafe there. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I hope that the future of architecture will be kinder.
Be Singaporean.
Thoughtfully built.
Multicultural.
Interactive.
Innovative.
Connected.
Less boundaries.
Greener.
Diverse.
People-centric.
And never lose its dynamism.